The violence at the Capitol was no surprise. Researchers have been saying for weeks and months that we were seeing a rise in violent rhetoric about the election.
Peter Montgomery is a senior fellow at People for the American Way. His group has been monitoring the rise in right-wing extremism in the U.S.
Extremism in U.S. politics and in our culture has been there for a long time. What's really different in the last several years has been the explosive power of social media to enable promoters of extremist ideology to find new recruits, to create communities of believers.
While QAnon worked its way into the mainstream, conspiracists have always been out there.
As early as, I think, 1799, there were people talking about a supposed Masonic conspiracy, and the Illuminati supposedly had infiltrated the American Revolution.
And since then, there have been several others, from those who believe JFK's death was a hoax to those theories about cell phone towers and vaccinations. But through online forums, these different conspiracy theories brought more people together, especially over the past year.
You know, all these things were just a way for people to try to explain what was going on in their life. And in the meanwhile, they built community, almost in the same way that people get drawn into cults.
In 2009, the Department of Homeland Security released a report warning that right-wing extremism was on the rise in the U.S. and it could lead to violence.
There was a flourishing of new right-wing coalitions on the right that happened right after Obama's election, that people who were willing maybe to partner with folks that they might otherwise have kept their distance from because they saw him as such a threat to their conservative ideals about how the government should run or about who should be running the government.
And since then, it's become even harder to pinpoint where the real threats online are coming from.
Conversations that occur online that include a threat of violence obviously far, far outweigh the actual use of violence. So it's the proverbial needle in a haystack problem where you have all of these very loud signals that are constantly going on, but to actually find the signal amidst that noise is much, much harder.
Social media has become a double-edged sword for authorities. While it helps identify potential threats, many conspiracists on these boards and dark rooms have also managed to relocate to the fringes of social media or create new platforms if they are kicked off sites like Twitter or Reddit. The question many people are asking in the wake of what we have seen this past year is what causes someone to become this radicalized? Experts say it can be a series of things, from a life-changing event that turns someone's world upside down to simply trying to make sense of something that cannot be explained.
The big picture changes in the United States, whether it's deindustrialization and people losing jobs, or it's the increasing ethnic and racial and religious diversity in the country that some people find very threatening because they have a view that, the real America is white Christian America. And so any of those kind of things that change people's sense of comfort or safety can be exploited by people who want to promote, ideologies of certain kinds of, white nationalism or religious nationalism.
Mark Gifford, an English lecturer at the University of Texas at San Antonio, says a lot of times people cling to pseudoscience or conspiracies when their emotional needs aren't being met elsewhere.
Why would someone believe these things? What led them to this belief? And I feel like for QAnon and a lot of those types of things, it's a loss of control. The feeling of simply not having agency in our everyday lives. And this does supply them with a form of agency.
In the first place is that they are searching for something in their social life, and that sense of belonging, that sense of meaning. And they find that in a world of other people that can help explain a very complex society and a very complex planet in seemingly simplistic ways, and basically say, you are on the right side, you're fighting against the evil side, and kind of break down what are otherwise incredibly complex phenomenon.
The fallout from all the rhetoric has been devastating. In October, the Center for Strategic International Studies found that white supremacists or other like-minded groups were responsible for 2/3 of the terrorist plots and attacks just in the first 8 months of 2020. The report also found that far-left groups, including anarchist and anti-fascist organizations, were responsible for about 20% of the total number of attacks during the same time period. This rise in extremism all culminated with the attack on the U.S. Capitol.